Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. Well, my Instagram is at it again. If you were here last week, you know that I was rambling about the type of posts I was getting when it was very pretty women eating burritos, pitbull mukbangs. Well, this is a little bit different now this week. This week, I'm getting more ads. In particular, ads for people that are like me. So that means Instagram is doing a very, very good job of their research. By people like me, I mean people that are still overweight. Even though I've lost a lot of weight, I think I'm still not quite where I want to be. And Instagram knows that. Instagram knows where I've been. They know that I go to the gym pretty much every day. They know everything that I do. They know that I don't eat a lot of fast food anymore. They know my GPS or my exact pinpoint location. And remember, I used to say on this podcast, not used to say, but I talked about one time how there was this thing going around, and it was fat shirts, meaning shirts for fat people. What I mean by that is a shirt that kind of disguises your belly. It's tighter on the chest area, and it's loose fitting on the stomach. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now have a new type of fat shirt, a new garment that is designed to hide your fat and make you appeal skinny, even though you're not really skinny. Ladies and gentlemen, we have entered the dawn of the slimming shorts, meaning shorts that make you look slim. How would these work, might you ask? Well, let me tell you. From the ads that I've seen on Instagram, it looks to be like these super spandex type stretchy material that are shorts that go underneath your pants, shorts, whatever you might be wanting to wear that day. And this is for men. And you pull them up all the way to your, past your belly button. So from, shorts that start, the normal short length, kind of like, think of like a pair of boxer briefs, like that kind of length, but then going all the way up past your belly button. And like a tight spandex type of material, it's used to make your stomach actually get, constricted and tighten it up so you seem thinner. And these aren't just like very quick ads, right? Or like a little tiny little thing. No, this is a straight up a dude who is out of shape, a dude who clearly needs to work out, using these as a cure, right? As an actual like antidote to his overweightness. And I was just sitting there like, this is really, we are just finding ways and even more ways to advertise to people that they don't need to lose weight whatsoever. First, it was the shirts to give you off the illusion that you don't have a beer belly or a big stomach or a bulging gut. Now it's these shorts that actually constrict your stomach and make it so that you don't have a stomach, that you don't have a gut, that your gut is not protruding too far out. In my opinion, this is insanity. Like, we are now in a part where we are actually, not a part, but in a period where we have on multiple fronts. We have shirts, and now we have shorts that are lying to other people about how a certain person looks in public. And, the dude who puts them on, he looks all confident. He's like demoing it. He's like looking in the mirror, giving like a side profile of how much, oh, look at my stomach. It's so flat. And he just put on a pair of shorts that just constrict all the way up his belly and make him look thin. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, man. It's almost like the male version of a, what are those things called that women wear like around their waist, like a waist trainer or something like that. It's like a men's version of that, you know, to give off the illusion of being thin and of being not overweight. Truly, I think that this is somewhat insane. Not somewhat, but like extremely insane. Because let's say you you use this, right? You use this day to day, and you use it. You go on a date with some girl as a man, and you're like, oh, things are getting pretty hot and heavy. You go to the room, and then you get undressed, and what are you gonna do? How are you gonna explain to this girl that you're actually more overweight than ever? That this thing that you have, these slimming shorts, are what you wear to appear the way you appear in the real world, in the outside world. What are you going to say? Oh, yeah, this is actually me. Like, I don't understand, like, if these companies who make this thought all the way through. Usually they don't, because they're not hired to think. They're hired to make something to appeal to people. Like, were they thinking about, like, the repercussions of people who use this and end up using it to their gain, to pick up ladies and to get a girlfriend, and this happens, and then your girlfriend's like, whoa, I thought you're not. Well, what is this? Like, oh, I've been lying to you this entire time. Like, I'm not normally this thin. I'm actually much larger than what I let off on. Like, that to me is just not something that anybody should be doing. I mean, a shirt is a lot less, the fat shirt is a lot less, has a lot less trickery, because you can kind of see through that. You can kind of see, like, certain positions, certain angles. Maybe the shirt gets a little tight in one area, and then you can kind of tell, like, oh, this guy's just wearing a illusion shirt. It's giving me the illusion that he's, fit. Whereas this is actually kind of constricting you and making you seem very slim. To me, that's kind of like you're straight up lying about your appearance. And for some reason, these companies are okay with that. I would like to know how many people actually purchase these items, these illusionistic items, these items to make you seem skinny. I would love to see actually, like, how much money they make on these, with this product that they actually get. Like how much do they actually make off of this product, and how much does it cost? Like, are they able to keep this afloat and continue to advertise on Instagram? Like, I can't imagine, like, anybody in the real world actually purchasing this thing. I just can't imagine anybody that I know actually buying this and using it day to day, or using it at all in general. I just feel like these things are, like, for one, advertised on social media. For some reason, our brains think that because we saw it on Instagram, because we saw it on X, it just doesn't seem to have the quality of an actual, like, name brand thing. That really is just my thought of it. Like, I just don't think that anybody is actually going to be stooped or duped enough to actually purchase this item. I don't know. I saw that and I was just like, there's no way that this is happening. Have we gotten this bad where we straight up need to have multiple items that we wear, items of clothing that we wear, that lie about our actual appearance? It's gotten to the point where it's like, dude, what are we actually advertising for? Like, what is this? I know you're trying to, sell money and be a business, but at the same time, it's like, are you serving a purpose? Does anyone actually need this? Probably people think that they do. They think that they feel like when they see this, they see how the dude looks in this video and how he's approached, because They make it seem like the women will find you attractive and stuff like that if you buy this or if you do this. It's like, I don't know, like this is a lot of possibly false advertising. I just feel like that this is like something that, not saying like they're gonna get sued, but like they could probably not last very long if a lot of people give them bad reviews or straight up just stop buying their product. Hopefully, like if it is a bad product, it does not continue to advertise on Instagram. That way I could, scroll in peace. That's all I want to do is just scroll in peace. The algorithm with the posts to me is fine. It's just all the advertisements that I see nowadays truly is off the rails. I feel like nowadays we can't go with it with like 5 minutes of just conversation talking to people about something and then later that day seeing it on your Instagram or seeing it on your X or even Facebook, right? It's just going to be there for the rest of our lives. It won't ever end. It won't ever end. I know that we're conditioned as Americans to be heavily advertised against. That's our thing. We, as a country, are all about money. We're all about making a profit, turning a profit, business, earning money, making money. And we've been like that almost since our very conception of this country. You look at any other country that exists out there, not one other country is as bad as we are when it comes to advertising, business opportunities, which are good. I'm very, very, very pro capitalism. I'm sure a lot of you are too. But at the same time, it does get kind of annoying. There used to be an era, an age, I would say like maybe in like the 2007s, not 2000, 2010s. No, the 2000s to like the mid 2010s, where there was a lot of movies coming out. I can give you an example. One of the franchises that came out, but Transformers was a very popular franchise back then. Big budget movies, big budget franchise, made a lot of money. But I also remember, cool fights, cool visual effects, cool action. But I do remember that those movies in particular had aggressive product placement. Like it was so hard, to escape the product placement in some of those movies. It just was insane. Like there would be like a Transformer that was like a Mountain Dew vending machine. I remember there was an Xbox 360 Transformer. I mean, shit, all the cars that they had, huge product placements like Chevy, Ford. I think Optimus Prime was like a Mack truck. But, product placement up the ass, right? Almost in every frame of those movies was a brand of some sort, just to get some product placement, just to get some money, right? I do kind of think that it has kind of toned down a bit in modern day movies. Like I said, I just saw Godzilla X Kong, right? And I'm pretty sure like the only product placement that I saw in that movie was a Sony camera, like a Sony camcorder that one of the characters was using in that movie. And it was very subtle. It wasn't like in your face. Like, oh, look at this. This is a product with a brand that that you can buy today after you see this film. It is something that to me has dwindled a bit, has not been as prominent as it has in movies, and I thank God for that. Because there was a time period back in the day, like I just said, where it was all over the place. If you remember Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire, when he is training to be Spider-Man, training with his webs, trying to aim at a target to web it. Straight up, the scene starts out with him placing a Dr. Pepper soda can, and the camera is just boom on that, places it, and then it goes back to Toby, and he's practicing on that Mountain Dew soda can. Crazy as hell. Super product placement. super obvious, all the time. But I feel like lately in modern day films, it's gotten a lot better. Mainly because a lot of the movies that I see, that I've seen as of late, like in theaters, haven't really been like a movie that would have a lot of product placement. Like I would have thought Godzilla X Kong would have had a lot, but Dune had none. Obviously, Dune is not not on this world, so like there's not going to be like a Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper can that they're just drinking soda out of. It's just not gonna that ain't gonna happen. I think if I like go back in time and see which of the movies lately that I've seen have had like a ton of product placement. I don't think that there is that many. If I go back and check, let me see. What is this? What did I just see? Yeah, Napoleon. None of that was in there. Killers of the Flower Moon. None of that was in there whatsoever. Oppenheimer. No product placement really whatsoever. Barbie. There was some. There wasn't that many. I mean, obviously the Barbie brand and the Barbie company. I believe it's Saban. No, not Saban. I can't remember who makes Barbie, but that company is obviously in that movie as well. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I didn't see any product placement in that one either. I can remember, like, it was not really in my face. So a lot of modern day movies not really having that much product placement that I could point out and remember just after watching it. So I think that it has gotten a lot better. Not to where I want it to be, where there isn't much at all. But then again, it isn't really much of a bothersome thing anymore, right? At least that I've noticed. Like, it hasn't really been that bad. So I guess I can kind of forego like product placement like that in films and stuff like that. It hasn't been that, bad for me to be like, what are we doing? Like, why is this all here? And I get it. These companies got to make money, right? I guess the thing that has kind of just been like the most annoying thing, what, I can actually kind of pinpoint this actually. Because in movie theaters now, at least in Regal theaters, when and maybe this is why they don't have so much product placement in movies now, like in an actual movie in general, is because the previews for movies before the actual movie starts are so long, and they're now just not just previews of movie trailers. They're actually like commercials of things that you can, that are being, that you can buy or watch right now. Like when you're sitting there in the theater, you can do that right now. Like Regal has ads so far for Pepsi products, and stuff like that. Obviously, like they promote their own like Regal Pass and all that in Regal theaters, but like I've seen like TV shows and other movies and stuff like that get promoted before the movie actually starts. So that actually might be why there isn't as much product placement in modern day films as there used to be back then, because once it hit that time for the movie to start, like the actual movie, they just straight up started playing like movie trailers, like maybe about like 5 up until the movie actually began. It's only until like maybe about 5 years ago when they started putting like more like commercial type ads in front of the movie, which is pretty insane. Like I remember it used to be like ads were pretty scarce, but now it's getting even more and more worser the more time goes on. Like the more you go on, the more ads just seem to be like of the norm, and all you do is just get flooded with ads. Like I remember back in the day when YouTube would have like one ad before your video, and then like one ad like during. There used to be like little like yellow marks in your timeline of your video that you were watching. That way you knew when the ad was going to come, or how many there was going to be. They completely stripped that away from you. It took away your freedom. So now you just have to, hope and pray that you can make it through the video without an ad, or that's not like at a super inconvenient spot to put an ad, The struggle of modern day entertainment is real. Every single thing is now an ad of something. From your social media to your streaming service to all the way back into cable TV. Ads are everywhere. They're much more prominent. They have not stopped. It's probably only going to get worse. South Park was actually right. The ad apocalypse is truly upon us. It really has not stopped. It's only gotten worse. TV shows nowadays, like a 20-minute sitcom, or no, back in the day it was like a 22-minute sitcom. Now it's like 19 minutes. So that means they've added 3 extra minutes of the TV program slot dedicated to ads and commercials. Like I said, I don't have a problem with capitalism. I just feel like that these companies are getting a little too greedy, I guess, for me. Maybe not greedy is not the right word, but a little too, I don't know, in everybody's life. That's like, oh, you need us. You need us to survive. I think that the brands like Frito-Lay and, Hershey's or whatever, Nestle, they truly do think that we need their products to survive. Or almost it kind of feels that way if you think about it. They make it seem like they are the guiding light in the shadow. Like, here's an example. If you were to put yourself in the executive's chair of a company like Frito-Lay. Now, Frito-Lay makes chips. They make Doritos. They make Fritos. They make Lay's. They make, I think, Ruffles. And they also make, Tostitos, right? In their advertisements, in their commercials, or any general ad that they have, they seem to have, this, some sort of mission statement or prophecy almost, it seems like, for them, that they are to be the one single chip that you will ever eat for the rest of your life, because that is how they survive. That is their mentality. And without their mentality, that mentality installed into them, and hopefully it rubs off on you, then they wouldn't even be a company. They wouldn't even make sales. They would probably go under. And bada bing, bada boom, no Frito-Lay, right? It's weird, but it seems like, competition is something that is super, super necessary in a capitalistic society. It's needed to thrive. But at the same time, it feels like a lot of these companies do not want competition. They do not want to be pushed to their limits to be better. Why? Because at the core of it all, at the core of the company, at the core of Frito-Lay, is a man that is running the entire company. And that man, as much as he enjoys making money, as much as he enjoys putting out quarter profits and making a ton of cash and, having his ads everywhere about his company, everywhere, and people buying it and people liking it, at the end of the day, he don't want to work. He just wants to be rich. He don't really care about working. He's lazy, just like you and me. He gets lazy from time to time. He's like, what? I don't want to have to fight for this. I don't want to, fight these other companies that also make chips, and I don't want it. And then every so often he's like, what? I gotta hunker down and I gotta go to war. And I gotta make it seem like my company, Frito-Lay, we have the better stuff. Whether that be a cooler, snappier commercial to get people to buy our stuff, or to actually make our stuff taste better. What's going to cost more? Well, this commercial is probably going to cost a lot cheaper than changing up our recipe and changing what we put in our food. So we'll do that. We'll make it like that. I feel like those companies have that somewhat of a mentality where they always want to be on the top. They want to squash the competition no matter what it is, no matter if it actually generates, actual competition. They'll probably either squash them or buy them out so they shut up and don't do anything. It's kind of weird. Isn't it kind of weird how we have not that many big motor companies in the United States? We have General Motors, we have Ford, and Toyota. And that's about it. Everything else is like a branch off of General Motors, Ford, or Toyota. I mean, I guess BMW, right? Or Volkswagen, whatever the hell. But a lot of the cars are stemmed off of those three big companies. It's kind of crazy. To think about. You don't really think that how business is just squashing the other guy or buying the other guy. But it tends to happen a lot more than I think people think. Certainly a lot more back then than today. Today you don't get much competition whatsoever. Nobody's kind of gonna come out with a new tortilla chip. Sorry, but it's just not gonna happen. No one's gonna come out with a chip that'll compete against Frito-Lay's Dorito. Back in the day, you can probably get a ton of other things that would come out to rival a well-established brand. Today, that doesn't happen. It's just not possible now. It's so hard to do. And when someone even sniffs like they're getting close, they'll get bought out. Or they'll just be, squashed. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's kind of sad, but, it's not like it's right, but it's it's kind of true. It does happen quite a lot. I'm actually a little surprised, though, at some aspects of that, because you can kind of also point this at sports as well. American sports are very much businesses, right? You would say that, businesses, and there is only one professional league that pays the big bucks in every major sport in this country. NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. That's it. If you don't make it in those leagues, it's over. You're not a professional. You're just an amateur or a semi-pro, right? I mean, the UFL, the United Football League, is a new thing that was stemmed off of the XFL and USFL, and they just decided to merge and make the UFL. But mark my words, the UFL is not going to be competing against the NFL for viewers. The UFL is currently competing right now in the springtime, and then they have the NFL in the fall. I mean, because that the UFL knows that they cannot compete against the NFL as a business, as a product, right? They're serving a product. The NFL has the best professional football that you can watch in this country. Now, it's weird because on Saturdays, they have amateur football, known as college football, that somewhat, in a way, is allowed to be broadcast on the day before the NFL is broadcast. So, in a way, they kind of, avoid each other. But let's not be honest. I mean, let's not play no games here. Let's not pay attention to what could happen. I've said this before in the past. If the NCAA feels confident enough and wants to compete for that slot, how about we have what if they thought what if we just played a couple games on Sundays? Now, would that be okay with the NFL? Probably not. They'll probably see what are the viewership, who got more views. What if the college football games got more views than the NFL games? It just might be something that, the NCAA sees as oh, you know what? This was a full NFL slate day. and more people watched our game than their game, maybe we'll try this Sunday thing out again. That way we can have games on Saturdays and Sundays, because Saturdays are super, have so many college football games that what if we want to put more of them on TV so people can see them more, and we'll just bleed them into Sundays? Well, then you got the NFL competing with the NCAA, and then you got actual competition, like head-on competition. Now, would the NFL be okay with that? Absolutely not. But what could they do about it? Would they sue the NCAA? I don't know. I have no idea. Could happen. But that just kind of shows you where we stand in the whole business and competition thing in the United States. Sure, it's welcome. Competition is welcome. I think it is very much welcome. But that doesn't mean that the bigger guy is not going to squash you very quickly. I don't know. Just something to think about, I thought. So moving on to this past weekend, I was chilling out with some friends, and we decided to watch a movie that I did not want to watch, but nonetheless we did, because one of our friends has not seen it yet. And we were making this like an event thing where we would watch one movie of the trilogy every weekend whenever we would have time, whenever we were all free. And it was The Hobbit movies. We've seen the first one, and we just finished the second one, The Hobbit 2. Now, I'm pretty sure I've told you guys how I felt about these Hobbit movies. I don't like them at all, whatsoever. And I've grown to like them even less, having rewatched them very recently. After watching The Hobbit Part 2, extended version, by the way, not the theatrical cut, I can very much tell you that The Hobbit 2, The Desolation of Smaug, is much worser than I remember. I really, you could tell so easily that these movies were just not meant to be 3 movies. This story does not lend itself for 3 movies at all. And it's so clear with these extended versions that this was a horrible, horrible idea. The fact that they actually made it a trilogy is almost a sin. Actually, you know what? No, it is a sin. It's a cinematic sin on multiple levels that this should not have been made whatsoever. And this movie from the jump is very much buying time. There is a scene. I don't care about spoilers either. I'm going to spoil it. I don't care. There is a scene in the movie that's in the theatrical cut that's also in the extended version. But in the extended version, it's drawn out much longer. And I shit you not, it is literally of Gandalf trying to buy time to this dude that they're staying at's house. And the dude doesn't know that, and he does not like dwarves. And Gandalf is trying to break it easy to this guy. Like, oh, hey, by the way, we have a large party of dwarves in your house right now that stay the night. And I'm just gonna break the news to you right now. Don't get mad, but this is what happened. And the way that Gandalf is doing this is like in a way like how you would buy time with someone to tell them the bad news about something. But the fact that it's being done in this movie, and this movie already is buying time to make it longer, to make it feel like Lord of the Rings, is some of the most on-the-nose bullshit scene that I've ever seen in my entire life, that manifests the entire trilogy of just wasting everybody's time on nonsense and stupid shit that really made me dislike this movie even more than I ever thought that I could. Now, I had not seen the extended versions of The Desolation of Smaug and An Unexpected Journey. I've only seen the theatrical cuts of those movies, and I can tell you that they are some of the longest things that I've ever seen. Not lengthwise, like they're only like 3 hours each, but the fact that just how they feel so goddamn long is one of the worst parts of these movies, and I've been on record about this. I have said multiple times that just because a movie is long, time wise, doesn't mean it's going to feel long. Like Doom Part 2 is 2 hours and 46 minutes. For me, Doom Part 2 flew by so fast because it's such a good movie, phenomenal cinema, great time, and it moves. The movie just moves. Martin Scorsese films, I've said, have such a great energy to them that they just feel like they move. A lot of them are like 3 hours long, but they just move because they're such good movies. These movies are some of the worst movies I've ever seen, and they feel like they're just dragging the entire time. There was a point where I turned to my friend because we had just gotten to the part where Bilbo is going to enter the mountain, and so much had already happened before that. And I knew in my brain from seeing the theatrical cuts, like, I remember when this part happens, there is so much more left in the movie, and it was even more than I could have possibly imagined with the extended versions. It was so much longer, and it dragged for so long, and there's so many scenes that I had caught that were not in the theatrical cut, that were in the extended version, that I'm like, none of this needed to be in the movie whatsoever. I feel like all these movies, it is now more and more clear to me that these movies were just a way for the studio to make more money and to just, just sucker us into a new Lord of the Rings trilogy directed by Peter Jackson, which even he knew that this was a mistake from the get-go. The studio was like, you gotta make these as long as possible, just like you did with Lord of the Rings, with a third of the source material to back your stuff and to base it on, to adapt these films. I mean, I shit you not, man. It is some of the worst shit that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I don't remember it being that bad, but watching it again, it's like all of this is unneeded. All of it. The romance between the girl elf and Keely, Legolas, the spider attack is in the book, but it's unneeded. The prolonged nonsense of the dwarves in a barrel that are going down this river / current in the forest, and how obscene it is, and how for some reason in these goddamn movies there's like no gravity. Like, dudes can just be rolling down this stream in their barrels, not having any resistance to anything. People are jumping on them, jumping over them, jumping across the sides of the river and shit. And Legolas is the worst thing in this movie. It's so hard to, think that, wow, Orlando Bloom is phoning it in so badly in this movie. Like, he does not want to be there. Hell, his character isn't even in the book at all. This is just a ploy to help bridge the gap between Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Even though that they're so very, very different, and not just Legolas, but all this entire silly plot of just hey, we also want to shoehorn in the big threat that's coming in the next 60 years when Sauron comes back. And it's bruh, none of this is needed. I will give you this, though. The accuracy in the book, besides Legolas and all this other bullshit, there's a couple key points where, you can have fun with that, because in the book, Gandalf does say that he has to go attend to some business in the mountains. And that actually does happen in the book, and Gandalf actually leaves the dwarves and Bilbo for a while in the book. And, you can kind of have some fun with that. I'm pretty sure that it said in some back lore or whatever that that's where Gandalf went. But, if it didn't say that, you can have some fun with that and make it seem like, oh, he's going to go investigate this ancient evil that's like reemerging in this part of Middle Earth. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's okay. But how like it's so like on the nose, like, yeah, this conflict, this villain that you're fighting, it's meaningless. It's not the real Ting. The real Ting is going to be in 60 plus years. That's going to be the real threat. That that entire like narrative is very consistent within the Hobbit movies so far, and it's just like, well, what the fuck are we doing here then? What's all this shit? It makes it even more pointless. It makes it even not worthy of watching what this story of the Hobbit has to tell, because you're constantly reminded that, oh, this other evil, Sauron, is coming back, and we gotta make sure it doesn't come back. Well, newsflash, they don't. They don't end it until the Lord of the Rings trilogy concludes. Like, what the hell are we even talking about? Why is there this entire thing of impending doom in the future? But we know what's going to happen, obviously. So I think when you do that, when you implement too much of like the successful trilogy in the prequel trilogy of what's going to happen, then you kind of just make that what you're focusing on in this already terrible Hobbit trilogy even more worse than it already is. And I gotta say, rewatching it again as an adult, yeah, it's extremely, extremely bad. Like, it's even worse than I even remember. I know I knew that there was a reason why I did not buy all of these movies on physical media. There had to have been a reason, and now I know. They're fucking shit. They're just bad. You shouldn't watch them. If you are thinking about watching The Hobbit, I would say watch the theatrical cut. Because, I just feel like in these movies, in the Hobbit trilogy, a lot of shit that's in it, in the extended cut, is so goddamn bad, in that it's actually much better paced in the theatrical cut than the extended version. Like, I would actually tell you not to watch the extended version, because it truly is a pain and a struggle to watch all the way through. Having seen 2 out of the 3. Now, I've seen the third one uncut. I've seen the third extended version. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. I've seen it already. I think I saw it like the year it came out, which is like maybe 2014, I think. And that shit was horrible. I can remember it right now, like how much I hated that one. So when we rewatch it with our friends, I'll probably tell you that in this podcast, I don't know, how much worser it was than I remember, because I'm remembering it pretty vividly. That this movie is hard to forget because it's that bad. But I might be refreshed when I see it again. But yeah, so far, Hobbit 2 extended cut, even worse than I remember. Way worse. Not enjoyable, not fun. Just not a good movie, Also, to continue to be a hater, I recently started rewatching The Batman, the movie with Robert Pattinson that came out 2 years ago when he plays Batman. I'm about like 40 minutes in. Now, I wasn't a big fan of it when it came out. I didn't think it was very good. But I'm already 40 minutes in, and I'm not enjoying it. I thought I would, just because so many of my friends liked it. So many people that I talk to think it's really, really good. Like, really good. And I saw it, I'm like, it wasn't that great. And I'm rewatching it right now. I'm trying to see what people saw in it. And I don't see it. I truly do not see it at all. And part of it, I think, is because the movie so far is unbearably slow. And it's slow by choice, I feel like. The movie could be much faster than what it is, but for some reason it's slow. I don't know why. It seems like the Matt Reeves who directed it just seemed to want to make a movie that really was slow. And I don't know why. Like, you can just tell by the camera movements, by the actors, by how much like he sits on a shot or sits on a character's expression. It is just like film like at 2 miles an hour the entire movie. Well, not the entire movie, but the first 40 minutes as I remember. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't get any faster. But again, I haven't finished it yet. But I'm at the 40-minute mark, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe I was right. Like, this is kind of garbage. And also, like, Robert Pattinson as Batman is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I thought it was me, but I think it's just a movie. Like, the movie's just, or he is just not good in this role at all. Like, I don't buy it. I don't like his performance as Batman whatsoever. I don't care if he's like year two. I don't care. I think it's just a bad, mopey, depressing performance that I don't think anybody really wants to see, if I'm being completely honest. Anyways, I'm only like I said, 40 minutes in, but I'll give you more of my thoughts when I finish it. But no more being a hater. Something that I actually really, really like so far. And I haven't, watched a whole ton of it, but the Fallout TV show came out last week on Amazon Prime, and they dropped all 8 episodes at once. I've only seen 2, but I have some thoughts, and they're pretty good thoughts. And I'm not saying that I wasn't expecting this, because when it first got announced, I was like, okay, cool, Fallout TV show, Amazon Prime, this could be sick, this could look good. And a few years went by, and then they finally released a trailer, and I saw it, and I was like, you know what? I'll be honest, this looks pretty damn good. And then I thought to myself, like, you know what? Also, Fallout, I know it's a video game, but at least the world, the world that's been created is very like cinematic. Like, you can tell a good cinematic story, whether it be a TV show or a movie, within the world of Fallout. Without spoiling anything, like that's what they did. That's what they set out to do, and that's, I'm 2 episodes in, and that's exactly what they've done. They created a story that's really good in the world of Fallout, and I've seen the creators and the producers talk about it. This show is considered canon within the Fallout universe. That means that stuff in the games has happened in the universe of the show, which is a pretty cool touch. And I always thought that, you know what? Like I said, it's very cinematic. And I was thinking, like, when they got announced and when it was getting closer, like, yeah, they don't have to adapt like any pre-existing character events in the show, in the game at all. Like, and that's exactly what they did. They went to an entirely different part of the country in America with Vault 33 and straight up are telling their own story. And I gotta say, like, it feels exactly like a Fallout video game. The music is downright the same. Incredible. The characters are very Fallout-y. There's a lot of quirkiness, a lot of unseriousness that you get along with the Fallout games of people just kind of being their own characters. Like, Fallout, the game, has a lot of caricature characters in it, and a lot of that is very, very telling in the show. Like, they saw that the game has a lot of caricature characters and put that in the show, and it completely works. Like, it almost is to the fact like they were having so much fun with the different characters that they could just make from pretty much scratch. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some characters that are like inspired by others from the games, but you can't really tell because they're all like so uniquely different from each other. The main girl, Lucy McLean, is a very, very likable character. She plays a vault dweller that, not really a spoiler because in the trailers, but leaves the vault and, has to do stuff outside the vault that she's not been trained for or has experience with. And you kind of walk, she's like the main character, so you're like kind of like in it with her. So it's pretty cool to see that from a show's perspective rather than being the player and you being the person to do it. It's cool to see it like in a different lens. Very, very cool. And also live action. But all like the other characters that they have in it, they have a ghoul character, they have a Brotherhood of Steel guy that, you follow with the show as well. And it's all really cool. I can't lie. Like, it looks really good. Super, super practical, by the way. The show is like pretty much what I can tell. Very, very practical. Like from all the way down to like the power armor suit, all the way down to the Pip-Boy bobbleheads, A lot of it is practical, which I was actually I was actually really surprised, like how real it looked, coming off from a show that looked completely fake in Rings of Power to this show that looks like so real, obviously because it's real. Especially like with all the props and all the sets that they built, like you can tell that this show used the budget very wisely and just made it look real, because it used real sets and real locations. And I just have to say, like, it was only in the first episode that I saw it. I haven't seen it in much lately, but in the first episode, you see the inside of Vault 33. And there wasn't one thing that didn't look like it did not belong in that vault. It all looked like it was like straight out of a Fallout video game, but in real life. From down to like the Vault Tech jumpsuits, even down the stim pack that they have. I mean, it completely looked authentic, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, so it can be done, a game franchise that is so like uniquely viewed by its players and fans for the environment that has been created by the creators for the games has transitioned all the way from video game and computer generated images to real life practical props, effects, costumes so seamlessly that it all just kind of marries together and just works. To quote Todd Howard, it just works. I mean, I couldn't believe it, like how accurate everything looked. It truly was something that's like, holy shit. Like, you can kind of tell like the dudes that made this, actually either played Fallout or like, really like Fallout as a universe. And we're like, we got to make it look as great as possible. You just tell that they had like so much fun doing it because there's like so many Easter eggs of things that you see like in the world when you explore in like a Fallout video game that made their way to the show. And it's just like, holy shit, like this is something that they actually took time and effort to make. And all of it just made sense. You can totally buy that this is in the world of Fallout. And, when it's a show, obviously you're going to get multiple characters and different points of, those characters. You also get like flashbacks and, stuff of before the bombs dropped. And it's very interesting to see that point of view and how it all happened and how the world went to shit. It's very, very interesting to see like how it's all done. In a way, in a weird way, when you see like the flashbacks of the past before the bombs dropped, I almost prefer that perspective to be in a show than in a game. I enjoy the games for exploring and doing quests in the wasteland, but if we're going to be, because that's what it's all about, that's what Fallout is, that's the time period and that's the environment that you play in, in Fallout. But if you're watching it, and we have seen flashbacks of the time before the bombs dropped. Super interesting, very very cool to observe and see how a character's has changed from before and after. It's very very cool, and how the world changed, and then what lingered and what was left behind and all that stuff. Super cool to see all that stuff. Like I said, the actress who plays Lucy McLean is great, but I think that the one standout guy in this show is Walton Goggins, and he plays the ghoul in the show. The like the main. I don't know if he's a bad guy, but he's like a sort of like an anti-hero. The main, I guess, antagonist of the movie. He's more of a protagonist, but at this point I can't really tell. But the main guy, that, like I said, the ghoul, he plays it incredibly. Like he's got like this Western vibe, being out in the wasteland, where it's like lawless and stuff. It's so cool, like how they have made the world of Fallout in real life and live action just makes sense. Like it's like this lawless land that people just kind of like go about their own way. But this guy's just so cool and so badass. And it's a really good show. I was expecting to like it, but maybe not as much as I am liking it right now. Gotta be honest, like it's such a cool concept. Like I said, Fallout was always so cool, like in that way, to be playing in an area of the country after nuclear bombs dropped and the world went to hell and the apocalypse happened. And then you play in this world, so many years after the bombs dropped, and you just kind of have to survive, and you play throughout this story that you're given in each game. But now you're kind of just viewing it and watching these characters unfold and their stories kind of intertwine and unfold together. Like it's super super cool in the world of Fallout. And I think that also, like, the attention to detail and like the lore shit, the shit that I scream and shout about, adaptations and stuff like that. When you can get like the world right in the way that it looks, in the way that it feels, my critique of that goes out the window, because it just kind of shows you how much the people who made the show cared about the source material and were like, you know what? We don't gotta make anything new or different, really. The story can be all new and different. The characters can be all new and different, but the environment, the world itself, is perfect to tell a story in, And I feel like they're so far with the story, so good. I'll be honest. I think that right now, again, I'm only 2 episodes in, but they got a pretty compelling story between these 3 characters that we have right here. And all the factions have pretty much been established. Brotherhood of Steel, Vault Dwellers, this ghoul. The effects are really good too. I've been super, super surprised. Super surprised at the fact that how good the power armor looks in this show and how they shot it to make it look, first of all, real and not super comically clunky like it possibly could have been, because you can tell that the armor in this show for the power armor is super big, and you can tell that it is, got some, looks like it has some weight to it. Obviously it doesn't, for the performer in the suit, or as much as you would think, but there could be a lot of challenges in terms of filming and shooting an actor in that suit, in movements and conveying, things like that. Could be very tough. So far in this show, it's been awesome. I mean, it's been great, I think. The way it looks, the way it moves, the sound effects and everything. I think they even had like I don't think they actually did have a scene where this guy like got strapped up in the suit, and it looked really, really good. I was like, holy shit. There was some effects on that, but it looked really good. And The show so far has been using effects, in my opinion, in the right ways, and then not using effects in also the right ways. Like, they know when to rely on the practicalness and then when to rely on the effects. And I think so far they've done a very good job at marrying the two, special and practical effects, to where it looks pretty much seamless and real. Like I said, the show looks very, very real. Like, very real. And I got to applaud them for that, because not a lot of shows are going to do that. A lot of them nowadays rely heavily, heavily on effects. And you would think a show like with a franchise like Fallout, super popular franchise, they would just opt out for like special effects and stuff like that. So far, it's been very like used in a very tamed way. Like, they don't need to use it all the time. Obviously, the shot when they had like the Brotherhood of Steel ships flying in the sky, that was obviously CGI'd, obviously. But everything else has looked very, very well, very good to me. So yeah, Fallout show is a hit. I think that if you're interested, you should watch it. If you're on the fence and you're a fan of the games, I really do think that you would have a fun time with it. I mean, I'm a person who's only played 3 Fallout games, but I really, really think that it's in a good place right now. And that's going to be it for me today, people. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.